1987, Hollywood took one of the biggest toy franchises on Earth and bet $22 million on a gamble that would either launch a blockbuster empire or crash and burn spectacularly. Masters of the Universe brought He-Man to the big screen with muscles, magic, and one of the strangest production stories ever told. From a Skeletor who became an actor's favorite role to a leading man who barely spoke English, this movie is packed with bizarre behind-the-scenes secrets. Here are 20 weird facts about Masters of the Universe that prove truth is stranger than fiction. Number 1. The first live-action He-Man film. This might sound obvious now, but in 1987, this was a massive deal. Masters of the Universe marked the very first time He-Man, Skeletor, and the world of Eternia appeared in a live-action theatrical film. For millions of kids who grew up watching the cartoon and playing with the toys, seeing their heroes jump off the TV screen into real life was groundbreaking. Hollywood had never attempted anything like this with the franchise before, making it an instant event for fans who had been begging for years to see He-Man in the flesh. Number 2. Dolph Lundgren was cast for his muscles. When casting began, the filmmakers faced a serious challenge. Who could physically embody the most powerful man in the universe? Enter Dolph Lundgren, fresh off his breakout role as Ivan Drago in Rocky IV. But here's the twist. Lundgren barely spoke English when he was cast. His thick Swedish accent and limited vocabulary didn't matter to the studio. What mattered was his towering height, massive physique, and heroic jawline that looked like it had been chiseled from marble. He was a near-perfect visual match for He-Man, and the filmmakers knew audiences would buy him as the ultimate warrior the moment he appeared on screen. Number 3. Skeletor was Frank Langella's favorite role. This is one of the most surprising revelations in the film's history. Frank Langella, a respected stage and screen actor with a Tony Award and multiple nominations, went on record multiple times saying that Skeletor was the most fun character he ever played. Despite spending hours in heavy prosthetics, enduring intense heat on set, and being buried under layers of makeup, Langella loved every minute of it. He approached the role with Shakespearean intensity, treating Skeletor not as a cartoon villain, but as a tragic, ambitious ruler consumed by power. His commitment elevated the character far beyond what anyone expected. Number 4. The skull makeup. Playing Skeletor came at a brutal physical cost. Every single day of filming, Frank Langella had to sit in the makeup chair for over 4 hours while artists applied the intricate skull prosthetics to his face. The process was exhausting, uncomfortable, and left him drenched in sweat under the hot studio lights. The makeup team used foam latex appliances that covered his entire head, transforming him into the skeletal villain fans recognized instantly. By the end of long shooting days, Langella was physically drained, but he never complained. His dedication to the role showed in every frame. Number 5. Originally set entirely on Eternia. In early drafts, Masters of the Universe was supposed to unfold entirely on the alien world of Eternia, showcasing the full scope of He-Man's magical kingdom. Fans dreamed of exploring Castle Grayskull, Snake Mountain, and the dangerous wastelands of the planet. But reality hit hard. Budget limitations forced a massive creative pivot, and the story was rewritten to take place largely on Earth. This decision disappointed many fans who felt cheated out of the full Eternia experience. The Earth setting allowed the production to use cheaper, modern locations instead of building elaborate alien environments from scratch. Number 6. The budget was massive. In 1987, spending $22 million on a movie based on a toy line was a huge gamble. This wasn't a proven franchise like Star Wars or Indiana Jones. Masters of the Universe was essentially a toy commercial being turned into a major theatrical release, and the studio was betting big that kids would drag their parents to theaters. The budget covered elaborate sets, practical effects, costumes, and miniatures. For comparison, RoboCop, released the same year, cost only $13 million. The studio was all in on He-Man becoming the next blockbuster sensation. Number 7. The toy line heavily influenced the script. This movie didn't just adapt the Masters of the Universe mythology, it was designed to sell toys. Mattel had enormous influence over the script, ensuring that characters, weapons, and vehicles already available as action figures were prominently featured. The Cosmic Key, Evil Lyn, Blade, and other characters existed because their toy counterparts were sitting on store shelves. Even design choices were made with merchandising in mind. The film essentially functioned as a 2-hour commercial for Mattel's product line, prioritizing toy sales over narrative coherence. Number 8. Skeletor got far more depth. In the animated series, Skeletor was a cackling, bumbling villain who failed every week and always escaped with a groan. The movie threw that version out completely. Frank Langella's Skeletor was dark, serious, and genuinely threatening. He wasn't a joke. He was a power-hungry conqueror obsessed with ruling Eternia and the universe. The film treated him like a Shakespearean tragic villain, complete with monologues about destiny and ambition. This darker portrayal shocked some fans, but also gave the character a gravitas the cartoon never attempted. Number 9. He-Man barely says his iconic catchphrase. If you walked into this movie expecting to hear "by the power of Grayskull" shouted every 10 minutes, you were in for a surprise. Dolph Lundgren's He-Man uses the phrase very sparingly throughout the entire film. In fact, it appears so rarely that some fans left theaters wondering if they'd even heard it at all. The filmmakers wanted to avoid making the movie feel repetitive or too cartoonish, so they dialed back the signature transformation sequence and catchphrase. For die-hard fans, this was a major letdown. Number 10. Courtney Cox made her film debut here. Years before she became Rachel Green on Friends, Courtney Cox appeared in Masters of the Universe as Julie Winston, one of the Earth teenagers who gets caught up in the battle between He-Man and Skeletor. This was one of her very first acting roles, and she had no idea the film would become a cult classic decades later. Cox's performance was earnest and grounded, providing a relatable human perspective amid all the alien warriors and intergalactic battles. Looking back, it's surreal to see her so young in a movie this bizarre. Number 11. The Cosmic Key. In the original cartoon and toy line, Eternia was filled with ancient magic, mystical sorcerers, and legendary artifacts. The movie simplified all of that into one convenient plot device, the Cosmic Key. This musical instrument could open portals between dimensions, allowing characters to jump between Eternia and Earth instantly. It was created to streamline the plot and avoid lengthy exposition about He-Man's complex mythology. While it worked for the story, hardcore fans felt it stripped away much of the franchise's magical depth. Number 12. Rushed to meet toy deadlines. Production schedules were tight, and not because of artistic ambition. Mattel needed the movie in theaters to align with their 1987 holiday toy marketing campaign. This meant rushed pre-production, frantic shooting schedules, and constant pressure on the crew to finish on time. Scripts were rewritten on the fly, effects were finalized at the last minute, and post-production was a chaotic sprint to the finish line. The result was a film that felt rough around the edges, with some scenes clearly needing more time and polish. Number 13. Castle Grayskull appears far less than expected. Castle Grayskull is the heart of Masters of the Universe lore. It's the source of He-Man's power, the symbol of Eternia, and the most iconic location in the entire franchise. Yet, in the movie, it appears for only a few brief scenes. Budget constraints meant the production couldn't afford to build elaborate sets or spend significant screen time on Eternia. Fans expecting epic battles inside the castle's mystical halls were left disappointed. The castle's limited presence became one of the most common criticisms from die-hard fans. Number 14. Practical effects dominated the production. In 1987, CGI was still in its infancy, so Masters of the Universe relied almost entirely on practical effects. Every creature, weapon, prop, and environment was created using physical materials. Foam latex creatures, miniature sets, matte paintings, and animatronics brought Eternia to life. The production employed dozens of artists, sculptors, and technicians to hand-build everything on screen. While some effects look dated today, the craftsmanship and effort involved were impressive. These practical techniques gave the film a tangible, tactile quality that CGI couldn't replicate at the time. Number 15. The movie was a box office disappointment. Despite the massive budget and aggressive marketing, Masters of the Universe bombed at the box office. It failed to recoup its $22 million production cost during its theatrical run, earning only about $17 million domestically. The film opened against stiff competition and struggled to attract audiences beyond its core fanbase of toy-loving kids. Critics were harsh, general audiences were indifferent, and the studio's dreams of launching a blockbuster franchise evaporated almost overnight. It was a financial disaster that haunted everyone involved. Number 16. Critics were harsh, but kids loved it. While reviewers tore the film apart for its silly plot, wooden acting, and cheap-looking effects, kids didn't care about any of that. For young audiences who grew up with the toys and cartoon, seeing He-Man fight Skeletor on the big screen was pure magic. The action sequences, colorful costumes, and larger-than-life battles were exactly what they wanted. The generational divide was stark. Adults dismissed it as a toy commercial, while children embraced it wholeheartedly. This disconnect would define the film's legacy for years to come. Number 17. A sequel was planned but never made. The studio was so confident in Masters of the Universe that they greenlit a sequel before the first film even premiered. A script was written, casting discussions began, and plans were put in motion. But when the box office numbers came in, everything screeched to a halt. The sequel was canceled immediately, and all involved moved on to other projects. Fans would never see the planned continuation of He-Man's story, and the franchise disappeared from theaters for decades. Number 18. Skeletor's Throne Room. One of the most visually striking locations in the film is Skeletor's Throne Room, a massive Gothic set filled with towering columns, eerie lighting, and intricate details. This single location consumed a significant portion of the production budget. The set was designed to make Skeletor feel like a genuine Dark Lord ruling from a palace of nightmares, complete with a floor that appeared to be made of polished obsidian and walls adorned with skeletal motifs. The throne itself was an elaborate piece of craftsmanship, positioned on a raised platform to emphasize Skeletor's dominance. Every surface was handcrafted, every shadow carefully planned to create an atmosphere of dread and power. Despite the film's financial struggles, the throne room remains one of its most memorable and photographed locations, proving that sometimes the most expensive gambles pay off in pure visual impact. Number 19. The tone is much darker than the cartoon. The animated Masters of the Universe series was a Saturday morning adventure show designed for kids, complete with moral lessons and lighthearted humor. The movie threw all of that out. Director Gary Goddard wanted a darker, grittier sci-fi fantasy film that leaned into the mythology's epic scale. Characters die on screen, battles are violent, and Skeletor is genuinely menacing. There's real blood, genuine fear, and consequences that the cartoon never dared to show. This tonal shift alienated some younger viewers who expected the cheerful adventures they saw on TV every weekend. Parents were caught off guard by the intensity of the violence and the nightmarish imagery. Yet older fans and teenagers appreciated the more serious approach, finally seeing He-Man treated as a legitimate fantasy hero rather than a toy spokesperson. The film occupies a strange middle ground between kid-friendly and genuinely dark, never quite sure which audience it's serving, but committed to pushing boundaries regardless. Number 20. It became a cult classic. For years, Masters of the Universe was dismissed as a failed toy commercial and a box office flop. Critics mocked it, audiences ignored it, and Hollywood moved on quickly. But something strange happened over the decades. Nostalgia kicked in. Fans who watched it as kids revisited it as adults and appreciated its ambition, practical effects, and Frank Langella's committed performance. They saw past the budget limitations and recognized the genuine effort to create something epic. The film developed a devoted cult following that celebrated its 1980s charm, memorable scenes, and unapologetic weirdness. Online communities formed, fan conventions hosted screenings, and retrospective articles praised what the movie got right. Today, it's recognized as a fascinating time capsule of toy-driven Hollywood filmmaking, a glorious, bizarre experiment that failed commercially but succeeded in creating something unforgettable. What was once considered an embarrassment is now a beloved piece of retro cinema history. Masters of the Universe is proof that even failures can become legends. From its troubled production to its devoted fanbase, this film is a wild ride through 1980s excess and ambition. If you love these facts, smash that like button and subscribe for more retro cinema deep dives. Thanks for watching.